week we were studying the Last Supper. I'm actually going to pull up something that I have. I wrote down a thought here, see if I can find it quick. But in the last, so let's see, trying to put me on the spot here. So in the Last Supper, Christ washed all the feet of all of the apostles, including who?
Judas Iscariot.
Judas Iscariot, yes. And so I've been pondering this for the last couple weeks, actually, and the significance of Christ washing even Judas's feet. And Judas, so he knew that Judas was going to betray him. And I've been pondering this in the context of applying it to my life and how I can follow my Savior's example. So Judas betrayed Christ and put in motion ultimately the death of our Savior Jesus Christ. In Sunday school this last Sunday, we were talking about this, and the question came up, so if Judas hadn't done this, would he still have died? And the consensus at the end of the day was yes, and that's what I believe too. So, but regardless, Judas did betray him for 30 pieces of silver. And ultimately, Christ died because of that. Many other pieces. But the lesson that I got from it is how quickly do I get angry at my fellow man? And they haven't done anything close to having set in motion my ultimate demise, right? They swerved a little too close to me on the freeway, or my kids, inconvenienced me in one way or another, and I responded not in a Christ-like manner. And it kind of goes back to what you were talking about, Whitney. I was thinking about that as well, your triangle, and joy being the top, right? The top of the triangle. And that's how Christ interacted with everyone. And so if Jesus Christ, knowing that Judas had betrayed him, washed his feet in an ultimate act of service, how can I then treat my fellow man so much better and follow his example? That's my thought.
I'm not the scriptorian of Jordan Dearden, but this is Whitney's interpretation, interpretation of man. It seems like the turning point of Judas is when, was it Mary? I don't know. There was a lady that brought some really expensive oils and anointed Jesus. And the apostles, that they were like inside of them as being like, dude, that's like in our era, that's like $70,000 worth of oil that she's wasting on him. What? Why not sell that and give it to the poor? And to me, I look at that and I look at 4th Nephi, and it seems like and I look at Whitney Wiltbank, it seems like a big turning event in sometimes our spirituality is pride, comparison, judgment, and criticism. those all wrapped together, because they, at that point, they in their minds, they're like, they were completely judging him of like, wow, I don't know. Do you guys know what I'm saying, or have you guys ever thought about that? What's your take on that?
So I've been thinking a lot about comparison and pride, and I agree, Whitney. If you can take comparison away, so if you go back and you read President Benson's talk on pride, he talks about the connection between comparison and pride, and it's pretty powerful. So I would recommend everybody go back and read that talk if you haven't. If you have, then time for a refresher for all of us. But it's, so President Benson would agree as well, Whitney.
Yeah, and for myself, my downfall, or that's kind of my Achilles heels. I got to watch my pride and my judgment and criticism of God, others, the prophet. That's Satan's little chink in the armor. I mean, that's how I feel he took down Judas, was that little pride, that comparison, that judgment, that criticism. What, Chippers?
I was just going to say, I've actually put a lot of thought to this week too, and in my mind went a little different way too. It was, I don't even think Christ chose Judas. I think he gave every one of his apostles an opportunity to grow or to shrink. And I believe it was Judas that chose to shrink. That every one of them was placed with something before them, which was going to put them, depending on their choice, would have put them in Judas's shoes. And he's the only one that ended up choosing that direction. But I think they all were put in a really hard spot at some point in that discipleship, in that time period just before this happened. If you look at it, they don't talk a lot about it because it gets focused on Judas, but I don't see how he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't just be like, Whitney or Chip, you are the one that's going to betray me. I think he put it out there for everybody had a trial that, like Whitney said, is that chink in their armor, and they had to choose at some point and make that choice. And Judas made a choice, one choice, which changed his direction, which then at the end he felt completely terrible about, and gave the money back, and they bought this potter's field, and that's where they buried people who didn't have money to be buried because they didn't want to use the blood money. So there's just all these things that, I mean, if I look at it, all I see is the regret from him of that one choice. And he probably knew exactly what choice it was he made. And I felt like that in my life. I know I've made bad choices before. Not epically as bad as that, don't get me wrong, but am I going to choose, my whole takeaway is, am I going to be willing to choose the right choice when it's placed in front of me? Or am I going to choose the wrong choice and be taken down a whole different path than everybody else?
You're awesome, Chippers. And it wasn't a unforgivable sin. He could have repented of it. It wasn't denying the Holy Ghost, and just amazing how merciful Jesus and Heavenly Father are. And because then Peter denied him 3 times, but he repented and he let that really convert him to a new man. But we're getting a little off track. I want to leave Jordan. I want to hand it off to Jordan now. So he has a half an hour, 4:15, 4:17 to about 4:45, and then do a little administration stuff, 4:45 to 5 o'clock. And I am excited, Dearden. I know you're going to rock it. I know. Any last words before we hand it off to him? Bearden, the time is yours.
Yeah, but according to you, all I do is ask a question and you guys fill it in. So aren't you guys the ones that rock it?
You get a lead. You get to lead the rocket, okay? Just go ahead and lead this rocket to wherever it's gonna go. Just light that fuse, buddy. Let's see what happens.
I'm just grabbing my notepad, so hold on. All right, so this week I was sitting there going, okay, what can I get? Well, what was going on? What do I need immediate help with? And my immediate help is methods or ideas of how to resync mind, body, and spirit. Because there were a few days where I felt completely out of sync with just everything that was going on, and tried journaling and tried music, and music was a good one that helped. And I know there's talking to nature, but what do you guys do that you find syncs everything back right in just nice and quick?
So I've found a number of things, but in the last year, I have gone through some crazy things that have given me, that I have chosen to respond with anxiety. I've allowed myself to hang on to the anxiety and to not let it pass through. And that's just a pattern that I've recognized that I've lived with for a long time in my life. And the one thing that's helped me, okay, so prayer, scripture study, journaling, 100%. Those have definitely helped. But one additional thing that has helped tremendously in this, for me, is meditation. It can be as simple as taking 2 minutes, close my eyes, think about where I am, pay attention to the sounds around me. Don't let my thoughts get stuck on one thing that's going on around me, and just pay attention to my breath, in, out, in, out. It could be as simple as that, or you can, I downloaded the Headspace app and did some guided meditations, and those were amazing too. It can be simple. It can be as crazy as, a 15-minute guided meditation, but meditation has been huge for me.
It's kind of funny. I had a thought that, I needed to be doing meditation. Like, it was just kind of this, hey, go do this. You need to do meditation. And I just kind of kept ignoring it. So, time to not ignore that.
Isn't it funny how the Spirit teaches us, and it's like pricks and pricks and pricks, and then all of a sudden somebody comes along in our life and kicks us in the shin, so to speak. It happens to me all the time. You're welcome for kicking you in the shin.
So when I find myself, I like meditation. Don't get me wrong. I've thoroughly enjoyed my meditation. But there's times I find myself kind of way off, like way out there. Like either I got set off or something triggered me, or I see my wrong, but I don't know how to fix it. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And write and burn works. That helps a little bit. But I find for me, I have to do something physical. We have a wood burning stove. I go out and I'll split wood, and every hit there's something that's going into it, and I'm trying to analyze it and go through it, and I have to wear myself out. And when I find myself totally worn out, totally working through the stuff as I go through. It's a form of meditation for me, but I have to get physically worn out before everything kind of starts coming together again, and I start seeing the whole picture again. Because when I'm not worn out, when I'm not tired, when I haven't physically exhausted myself, I don't think that. I think my mind and my spirit get together, but my body's like, I'm not listening, and I have to get it calmed down, and I have to get my body tired out, and then I start to fully listen with all three parts of what you're talking about. And then the meditation works better for me. And then the write and burn works better for me. And then the other things just start sinking in. But I have to physically get myself to a point of exhaustion sometimes before really, if I want to make the change the fastest, that's what I have to do.
So part of what has been going on is my wife and I got on this program called Optavia to help get rid of a lot of weight, and worked great. I got rid of almost 35 pounds, and then got some of it back because we've been off of it, and I've been having this conflict in my brain that has kind of, I think, been throwing off a lot of other stuff, which is I'm trying to get healthy, and I know getting rid of weight is part of getting healthy, but there's this conflict in my brain of, yeah, but now when I go and try and do stuff with my kids, I don't have the lungs, I don't have the energy, I don't have the, the other stuff going on. I've always been pretty strong, but I feel like I've lost a bit of my strength. I've lost, all around health. Sure, I've gotten rid of weight, but I don't feel like I've gotten this full health. And so I was having this conversation with my wife. I was like, okay, so here's where I'm at, because there's the coach in my brain saying, well, what you need to do is you just need to keep going to the program, get rid of the weight, so then you can move on and then get into the health. And the other part of my brain goes, that's not health, that's just getting rid of weight. And we want to be able to keep up with our kids and do exercises and ride our bikes and all this. And they're like, it's just this back and forth of, yeah, but you need to get rid of the weight so then you can get healthy doing that. And it's only going to take a few more months where the rest of this other health can be years and years of health. And so it's this back and forth, and I haven't decided which one I want to do. Currently I'm not, I'm eating healthy, but I'm not on my program, but I'm also not exercising. So I'm in this total chaos of, I want to get healthy, and I have one idea of health, and then I have another idea of, okay, well, you're getting rid of weight, it's been working, but at the other point of that, it's also quite expensive, way more expensive than we got on it. We're like, yeah, I think we can afford to do this, and then maxed out a credit card a few months later, and we're like, okay, maybe we can't. And so there's this lots of chaos going on inside my brain.
Well, I don't have much to contribute because I'm probably horrible at this. So I don't meditate, and I'm not in sync very often. So I'm all ears, but just so you know, that's why I'm not piping in too much.
Might be a duh thing, but what do we mean? What's the intention? What does NSYNC mean besides a boy band? What do we really mean by NSYNC?
I know when I'm in sync, my body and my mind, it happened. Well, I know when it happens because things are working. Things are telling me what's going on of, hey, you need to be eating this, or hey, you need to go do this, or this is what's coming up next. You need to be planning for that. And so then I can kind of prep for it. And right now I just feel like I'm in reaction mode. turning to anger with my kids, instead of turning to understanding and going, okay, what's going on? You need to be the parent, you need to help. And I'm in a very reactionary state instead of a creation state. Does that make sense? And I'm trying to flip myself out of that so that I can get in sync back to, okay, spirit saying, hey, this is what's going on. You need to be doing this. You need to go do that. And so I think meditation might be one of those ways of getting myself to that. So then I can get back in touch with what my mind, body, and spirit are saying. Okay, do you really need to be doing this program? Or do you really need to be doing different help stuff? What do I need to be doing? And so that's, I think, more what I'm trying to get to is, what can I do to get myself into sync so that my body and my spirit and my mind can all tell me, this is the direction we need to go. This is what you need to be doing. That's ultimately what I'm looking for.
So one thought that came up, Jordan, when you were talking about that is, it's actually a thought that I had a little while ago, and I wrote it down. So this is what I wrote down. It says, if I switch my mindset from hiding and fear to intentionality, I will be so much happier. And the thought is to step into what you're doing and own it. No matter what it is, like if you're deciding to go on a walk and you're going to walk every day for 2 miles, or you're going to do some crazy high intensity interval workout, or what is it? HIIT, high interval training. I don't know, whatever that is, right? Or some crazy workout, just own it. Like the reason why this came up is because I've been thinking a lot about, I've been paying attention too much about what other people think. And I'm recognizing how much I'm doing that. And I realize that as soon as I stop worrying about what other people think and I step into what I'm doing with intentionality, that fear goes away, because I'm doing the same thing. I could be doing the same thing that I was doing before, but I'm being intentional about it, meaning I am making the decision in my head to do this thing and not worry about what other people think. And it completely shifts my experience of whatever I had decided to do, just by simply setting fear on the table, setting what other people think on the table, and owning what I'm doing.
Dearden, you've seen it when Kirk does that thing about there's the things that you do a piano with, what do they call it?
Metronome.
Metronome. You've seen the metronome thing where he puts it on the cans, and then there's like 5 metronomes, and then finally they get in sync with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had a cool experience about this. Is we had a horse drive through our town, and we were driving 80 horses through town, and it was on the pavement, and it was so fun to listen to them because there's 80 horses, but a lot of the time you heard click, 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 like they were all like in sync. And then they'd get off for a while, and then they'd come back in sync, and it was pretty cool. It was like a cowboy metronome experience. But here's some of my things. I hope something in here is helpful for you. It's interesting that we talk about this because I just had this conversation with, we start every day in our business with a spiritual thought and prayer. And if it offends you, the door is there, anywhere. Don't work here. Because I was thinking about this, I've always been I need to be in balance, guy. I need a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. I need to be in balance. And if you're not in balance, you're not following the Lord. And what I have felt, it's kind of weird that I use this example, but it's kind of like when you're giving birth to a baby, are you in balance? Are you taking care of yourself spiritually? And are you cleaning your house? And you're not in balance at all. But it's a very spiritual place of where you're supposed to be, right when you're supposed to be there. And so I know you're not asking about balance necessarily, but I just want to throw that out there. Is I think balance is a misnomer. To me, it's more about I'm in sync with the Lord when I stop trying to get everything in balance, because trying to get everything in balance is a little controlling. And yes, that is what I like to do. I'm focused less about balance now and way more about walking with the Lord and walking in his tempo. And if he's like, his tempo is calm, his tempo is different than my normal tempo. And if I will walk with him and I'll stay in his tempo and I'll pray for him to help me feel his tempo, my stress and anxiety go way down. My anger, I'm not as angry. I'm sorry, the reason I stuttered is I just had an experience on Saturday where I was in the tempo of the Lord, and then something happened, and I'm sad to say I let Satan take me into contentious text with an in-law. And it was interesting to feel like how much I was in sync with the Lord, and I could feel the actual time of when I was making the choice. Are you going to go to anger right now, or are you going to keep your peace? I chose anger, and it was a bad choice. But I love the come follow. I chose the come follow me lesson last week. I'm learning. I listened to all 4 Gospels of when Jesus is betrayed by Judas, and and in 3 of them, it says Jesus kept his peace. Like when they're trying to contentiously get him engaged, he kept his peace. And I know the footnote says that just means he was quiet, but what it meant to me is, 1, be quiet when you're dealing with someone contentious. If you open your mouth, it's just going to make it worse. Trust me. Number 2 is keep your peace. For me, stay in the tempo of the Lord. Don't go there. But we all got to have that experience every now and then. So those are some of my main takeaways. I hope something resonates.
I'm getting in my van. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. I'm in my van, my truck.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, I like some of the things.
Let me touch on what.
Oh, go ahead.
Because he just gave me an idea, which is, I'm always, when my wife and I are doing a project, she hates the starting of the project because you have to make a whole bunch of chaos. Kind of like when people say, well, how do you make an omelet? Well, first you got to crack the eggs, so you got to make a mess. And so Whitney just gave me kind of an aha of, well, I'm in chaos, which chaos usually means that you're going to a new level. And the more the chaos you're in, the higher the level you're about to jump into. And so it actually gets me excited about being in chaos, which I had forgotten because I used to love getting into chaos because I'm like, oh, something awesome is around the corner. And I wonder what it is. And so I'd just be like, sweet, I love chaos. Let's bring it on. And I've kind of lost that for a second.
Philip, it's your turn right after this, I promise. Putting the men's group together on my part has brought the most chaos of my life. But I knew there's something the Lord wanted. Like, it was absolutely chaos in my family, in my marital relationship with my kids, with business stuff. But I feel you just nailed it, Jordan, is like, interpret the chaos for what it is. Satan is trying to say, don't do this. This is not good. Stop. stop, no. And he throws as much chaos and frustration and stuff as possible. Interpret it for what it is. He's like, wow, I must be on the right track because I really pissed him off.
I think a lot of that is intention as well. I probably have unnecessary chaos with not the intention of progress. And now that I think about it more, I do have ways that I try to stay in sync. And but I think for me, that's probably what I lack the most is I don't remember who said it earlier, but that intentionality of our actions, of being present, doing what we're planning on doing, and otherwise chaos is just chaos, and it's dysfunction. But I always tell my customers, I'm going to make their house super ugly before I make it gorgeous. With that intention, it's totally different. But I need to have more intention of finding more balance and being in sync more.
Yeah, I'm loving all the stuff I'm hearing. When you first asked your question way at the beginning, the one word I took away from it the most that kind of took me this direction that I'm going to go was how. Because I think we as men go to this, if there's a problem or there's something we want to do or something we want to fix, we say, well, how do we do it? I think that's just kind of where we go. But this is a piece that I recently just barely learned. So I'm kind of even starting to implement it myself still. But there's 6 questions, to ask. How is the last one of those 6? Because if you answer the other 5, that can help you get that inspiration, either from somebody else or Heavenly Father gives you the inspiration or the Spirit directs you. But there's 5 other questions to answer first. And we've already hit on one of them when Whitney talked about, he said, well, what is being in sync? So what is your first question? Is what? When you run into a wall or a problem, ask, well, what is it you're going for? What is it you want? What? Then, okay, why is number 2? Why do you want to be, because I'm sure you have this thing in your head of, this is what I visualize it as, because you've already well described what it is you're looking for. So why? Why do you want it? And then number 3 is who. You ask, who is it for? Does it just benefit you? Does it benefit, your family? Does it, who is it for? The 4th one, where? Is it just for your home? Is it while you're at work? Is it while you're at church? Is it while you're going on a walk? Where? And then 5 is when. When do you want it? When are you going to apply it? They're all simple one-word questions that you can interpret, in what way you need for what particular situation you're in. But ask those 5 questions before you go straight to how. And that was an eye-opener for me. And I just barely learned this yesterday. It was a total eye-opener for me because if something said, okay, I need to do this and it costs $1,000, how am I going to get that money, right? Is the first thing I would go to, is how. But just take these 5 questions and, either write them down or put them on a notepad on your phone or do something, or record yourself saying it. But what is the answer to those 5 questions first? That will give you the inspiration to how.
Dang. I'm glad you just learned that yesterday, because I just learned it today.
That's excellent. Good stuff.
Philip, that is pretty crazy, and it's pretty cool. It's like force myself to go through that process is just so much better. I was really frustrated on Saturday night and Sunday with how my family structure systems, just how my family runs and operates. And I didn't know about these things, and I'm not going to show the 3-page paper to Dearden because he'll throw up, because there's a whole lot of bullet points on it, a ton. And but it was cool because I didn't know this, but I was going through like, what do I want for my family? It's like I organized my business. I organized Battalion of Brothers. I organized this other business. But I have never figured out what I really want in my family, and why do we want it, and who's it going to benefit, and where are we going to work on it, and where are we going to do, and when do we want to see these changes, and then how are we going to do it? And I'm telling you, I started with what, and then I took the vision that we have as the Battalion of Brothers, and I took out all the stuff that relates to this, and then I started building it for my family. So I went like who we are, what we do, why we do what we do, and then my wife and my daughters, the older daughters, the 2 sons are too young, but they went through it with me, and I bribed them. I said, I will pay you $10 if you'll sit here for an hour and give me your honest feedback. Best $20 I've ever spent. And there's a lot of wisdom into what you just shared with us. Go through that process instead of jump into the house so fast.
Yeah, I mean, like I've tried it like a whole 1 time so far, but like how immediately jumping to it, we only go to the things that we know. Like if all the things that we know haven't gotten us there before, it's not going to get us there now. So if you answer these other questions, it can really help you get an answer to what is that how.
You can't solve the problem on the same level of consciousness on which you created the problem. But we always try to do it. My other thought for you, Mr. Jordan, is I was just going through some crazy anxiety this morning, and I was like trying to figure it out. I'm like, what's going on? And for me, this is hyperactivity, is that anxiety, that stress, what I consider not in sync. That's where I've spent most of my life. And this was my aha this morning, is it comes from pride, because I'm kind of feeling like pretty hot stuff right now. I got things going pretty good. My bank account's doing all right. I've got this and I've got that. And then my anxiety came from my pride of thinking that I need to control this. I need to keep this going. I've got some good movement going. And it came from I'm in control, and I got to go to work, and I got to go make this work, and I got to go make that work. I stepped out of the God is the God, and He created all these amazing things. And I stepped into the pride of like, I've got to make all this work, and I've got to stay in balance, and I've got to keep this in balance, or I'm going to get out of sync. And then it brought me back to, son, this isn't walking in my tempo. You're trying to control things right now, and I'm God. I'll step back and let you kind of run this for a while. But then I was like, man, I'm so sick of my stress and anxiety. Okay, I'm sorry. I want you back. Can you be in charge again? Because I kind of made a mess of everything again. That's where my stress and anxiety comes from. I got to put God back in His place.
I feel the same way. I suffer with perfectionism sometimes, and that's that whole balance. Like everything's spiritual, mental, physical, everything's got to be balanced. It's got to be on this. But I'm always working on one harder than the other because there's a need. Sometimes my spiritual is really good and it's not a big deal, but my physical is not. I think the word would be strive. What I mean by striving for balance is it's like that Uchtdorf, find the airplane. It just goes all these millions of corrections, and very rarely are you ever like, it's like, I'm about, it's gone. I'm about, it's gone. I'm about, it's gone. But we're always working to cross that line as many times as we possibly can. And my anxiety and my stress comes when I think I have to be like on that middle line of balance, perfect all the time. And if I step off of it a little bit, or if I waver for a little bit, or if I put a little more effort into this one, then that one goes. But I like what everybody's saying and figuring it out. But I also wanted to say that we don't have to be perfect in everything all the time. And we just have to work towards it in our best ability and figure out where we're less and we need to work to get better at it.
I got to go grab my kids. I'll be right back. But you guys keep talking.
Yeah, I found that balance is crucial for me, and just the act of trying to balance my life is very therapeutic. Even if I don't end up in balance right away, just recognizing that I'm out of balance and identifying why and what I need to do, just that alone is very therapeutic for me. Just acknowledging that, and I'm really in balance. There's always some priority. I can't say rarely, but for me, it's very therapeutic just to try to rebalance. That alone does a lot for me. Just acknowledging it and taking steps to get in balance again.
Thank you, Nate. That is a beautiful segue. I'll pay you later for that. I'm a little detour also is, if you're following the Spirit and you're doing what the Spirit told you to do, you're in balance. And as priesthood holders, that's, to me, what I strive for, is be where you should be, doing what you should be doing when you're supposed to be doing it. And it's more about going where the Lord wants you than I'm all about, I need to be at work at this time and doing this. And my pain right now is the Lord's like, no, that's not where I want you right now. But that's my comfort zone. That's where I make money. That's where I'm confident I can be successful. No, I need you over here. And so be where you're supposed to be, do what you're supposed to be doing, and let the Spirit guide you. So today I sent out a Battalion of Brothers update. And I'm going to now turn it over to Chip. You've heard my voice. Chip, explain the update. And I'm kidding. I've thrown you under the bus. The update.
No, I got it. I'm good.
Oh, you ready? Go for it.
Sure. So the update is, way back when we talked to you guys, this is a couple months ago, and we talked about that we were going to grandfather everybody in, and we made some stipulations that we need to play at a certain percentage. And there's been a lot of us playing really well, but we miss a lot and we do a lot of things, and nobody was playing up to what the grandfather clause was, including us. I mean, we played really hard, don't get me wrong, but there was moments and times. And so the upgrade is that we've changed. We haven't changed. We've upgraded to where we want it to be, where it needs to be, and what the value that's going to be added is. We're taking Battalion of Brothers to a monthly subscription of $100 a person a month. And you're like, oh! But I know that I spend a lot more on that and different things in my life that do not do nearly as much as this group, even not spending anything, has done for me. I know that there are ways that I can improve on this. And when I say this, I say that we are already paying our monthly subscription fees, because we are going to pay those all the time as well to be here. We want everybody to come. We want everybody to play. We want everybody to learn. We want everybody to share. We want to continue to create this environment, but we also want everybody to have a little skin in the game and to feel like there's a little pressure to go ahead and do the things that are asked and that are not necessarily assignments, but that are bettering for us, that give us accountability, that give us the freedom and the ability to express ourselves and to move ourselves. We are that good. Everybody on here is that good. And we're going to attract more and more people onto here. And we want you to be a part of it. But we're also going to ask everybody to work on it and think about it, because it will be, if you want to continue after in July, it'll be a $100 monthly fee to continue on with these masterminds, with the trainings, with the accountabilities. We just have a new app that we're working with the company on this, but for now we're working with the company. What's the app called again, Whitney? You got it? What's it called? It's called
it's Habit Share. It's amazing. You can
Habit Share. So
go ahead.
Yeah, Habit Share is amazing. It's Peter and I and Whitney have been like testing it out. It tells you exactly what percentage of your AMs and PMs you're doing. It tells you exactly how much you're completing. It tells me, like, I've shared it with Whitney, and it says Whitney completed 15%. He did 68% of his stuff already today. And you're like, oh crap, I gotta go do my stuff. It's really encouraging. It's awesome, and the upgrades are just going to keep on coming and keep on going. We're going to have retreats. We're going to have, not retreats, summits. We're going to have man thingets, and there's discounts that'll come part of that. And it just, there's so much value that we have already stored and planned for you guys, and it's going to keep going. Whitney, did you want to add something here?
I was just putting a cheat sheet up for you. You did just say Chip, but Chip was the first one to pay his $100 monthly. I was the second. Peter was the third. We're putting our money in the game too, mostly because I play different when I've invested, and we've learned this. We know this, but we were afraid because we were just starting. Like, oh, we'll make it free so we can get people, and we are appreciative of everybody that's come. But the power of it's missing. There's missing the bite. There's two sides of it. Is when you don't put money in, you don't really put your sweat in it. And then number two, on my side is, and on the Chip and Peter side is, we don't put as much into helping everybody because they're not invested. I'm not invested. They're not invested, and so it's kind of hovering. And I just had some amazing things happen in my life. I was purchasing the accounting practice of my partner. So I got some good movement that way. Got good movement in my business. Got Spruce-Dell and good movement over here. But I need to play at a higher level to be successful in all the things I've got going on. And having a high-power group of men here that are invested, it's going to help me to go where I'm needing to go. And I know Nathan Larson's building a business. I don't know what Phil's a mentor. Peter, he's doing his job. But we all have goals, and I think that this call was kind of a cool thing. Is like, you either have the anxiety of not reaching for anything and hating where you're at, or sometimes you got a little bit of discomfort and stress and anxiety as you're working through emotions and getting them out of the way to create the life you're wanting and that you desire. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over for some questions, thoughts, concerns about this upgrade. not all. But Peter, do you have anything to add?
I do. Let me turn my video back on. So, I 100%, I have a testimony in when we invest something that we will then hold ourselves accountable much better than we do if we don't have an investment. And that's something that I personally have experience with. That's the principle that we're talking about here is none of us are playing at the level that we could, and this is a way to just for all of us to step it up, show some intentionality, show some sacrifice, show some investment in ourselves to push ourselves forward and to push each other forward. I've gotten so much out of this group, out of each one of you, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing. And for me, it's been life-changing, guys. It really, really has. And I thank each one of you for participating. And like Whitney said, we can all step it up and we can all participate way more and we can all help each other step up our game.
And I need everybody to know something too. I need you to know, I want to look at you guys. I need you to know, like Peter said, we love each and every one of you. And if you're like that, this is not me at this time, you're not going to be any less loved. We're always going to be here for you. We're always going to be around. If you need us for any reason, contact us and let us know. Because this is not like, oh, we just don't want to talk to them anymore. We love you. We think the world of you. And if it's not your time, and if this is not your game, we get it. We understand. And it's not going to change anything about the way we feel. Because it's your choice. It's your life. It's your families. It's your stuff. It's you guys. And we're still going to love you. And we're going to still ask you to follow our Facebook page. And we're going to ask you to do, we'll probably invite you, if you don't come back to this, to some of our men summits and our some men group things and our activities, and just because we love you. But don't feel like, oh, they're not going to like, no. If you don't feel like this is what you want to do, we got it. We're not worried about it. We still love you. There's no hard feelings. There's no bad feelings. There's no malice. There's no bad intentions. It's only good.
I love you, Chip. That's what I was needing to say too, because I'm like, oh man, yeah, we are gonna close the meeting down to members here in 2 weeks, and where the mastermind call and the training is to a closed group. But I want you to know that, like, man, you follow the Spirit, and if this isn't resonating with you right now, or the investment's not worth it, that's okay. That's okay. And we love you, and we're still friends, and we're still gonna see you all around all the time. It's gonna be super cool. Like, I'm going down to Nate Larson's house very soon, whether he joins or not. There's the other part of it is there's no, we don't want to babysit each other. And so as we invest, the babysitting goes away. If you don't want to make your $100 worth it, cool. But it's taking us from a kind of a group of to a group of people that are like, I'm ready. I'm manning up. It's $1,200 a year, dude. That's a substantial amount of money. And so don't come. Oh, okay, that sounds wrong. I'm just saying, Well, I'm just trying to say, I want you to come if you're like, man, I like the investment. I'm ready to rock my business. I'm ready to preside, provide, and protect my family in a whole nother level. Do it and be with us. And so we are over time.
We're also going to open up real quick, Whitney. I just wanted to tell everybody too. Anybody you want to come with you, invite with you, leaving, staying, whatever. If you want somebody to come in, we're giving everybody 2 weeks free when they start with the group, so they can come see what it's like with your guys' recommendation or with your referral. They get 2 weeks in to come see what it's like.
The other thing I want to tell you, thank you, Chip. I love the 2 weeks trial, 2-week trial. And okay, I don't know everybody's financial situation, but you're like, dude, I cannot do $100 right now. I can't. Get creative and find a way to trade some value with us. It's less about the money. It's more about matching the energy. And so I don't know Philip very well, but if he braids underwater basket weaving and they're really awesome, sweet, send us some. It's about the investment. It's about matching the energy. And as you match the energy, you will get more out of it for sure. So we spoke our piece. Chippers, will you send everybody on the group the PayPal, or have you already done that?
I need emails to do that. So if you want to get the thing to make the payment, just private message me your email, and I'll get that sent right over to you.
And we're gonna have it due on the 28th of each month. And if you guys got some personal things you don't want to say in front of the group, some concerns or something, get a hold of one of us. And game on is what I say. Game on.
Yep, I put my personal phone number right on that after Whitney's message telling him to contact me. I actually put that's my personal phone number. That's the cell phone that I use every time. If I don't answer the phone, I'm busy, but I always get back with you.
Yes. And thank you, Jordan Dearden, for a very, very good mastermind. And thank you, Philip. I've got my 6 things wrote down, and I've got to run.
Can we have 10 seconds? Oh, can we have 10 seconds real quick before anybody leaves? I want a 10-second report from Nathan Larson on how the stinking camping trip went. Dang it.
I do. Come on, Nate. So if anybody needs to leave, we understand because we held you overtime. Anybody that wants to hear the Nate Larson return and report, stay on.
All right. Well, it was a nightmare.
Dang it!
Yes.
It was better than it would have been had we not started out with intentionality. What made it hard was that we learned a lot of life lessons. Hands down, the hardest camping, hiking I've done in my life. And I've got 13, 14-year-olds who don't hike and camp. 12 of them. And one other leader. It wound up, we had this like inaccurate map. Wound up being twice as long as we anticipated. I had 2 kids that, had we known what the trail was, they should not have come. Like, he had club feet as a kid, so we're bouldering the whole way. We got in our back, we got 5 days worth of supplies and everything, and we literally inched along, not walked, inched along. I think all the kids broke down at one point, but I was legitimately concerned if search and rescue could reach us. There was a lot of life lessons we learned in this trip. A lot. And it's one that these kids will not forget. We had to impromptu, somehow we had to make our heavy backpacks float. We didn't realize we had more than a mile of river to swim upstream against the current. And nobody could waterproof their bag. And so it it was gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous. If you could stop shaking long enough and not be scared out of your mind for these kids, it was gorgeous. So we started out and most of us were floating, and then about a quarter mile in, the boys are like kicking their feet a million miles an hour, totally worn out, trying to keep their head above water, grabbing their bag, and like, oh my gosh. So by the time we got out of this huge freezing water, so the kids couldn't even lift their bags up. They were so waterlogged. And then we had to somehow get out of that canyon. We were so exhausted that spirituality was the last thing on my mind. That's not totally true. I try to take lots of opportunities of things like, so what have we learned? This sucks. What else did we learn? This will be an event we could draw countless life lessons from with these kids for years to come. So I rolled my ankle. We had a kid covered in poison ivy. His eyes were swollen shut. We had a boy on the first night. He decided to climb a tree barefoot. So he slid down and the branch went right into the bottom of his foot the first night, which got infected. Another boy, the night before, I didn't realize this, the day before we went camping, they were with the family there on motorcycles, and the motorcycle tipped over and burned his calf. He's like a little kid, but it was 3rd-degree burn covering the vast majority of his calf. And his mom thought it'd be a good idea to send him camping with us, with not all the medical equipment I'd need to take care of this leg.
There's some parts, it's like a pond, and it's stagnant.
It's not anything you would call fresh by any stretch of the imagination. And we had to do that a couple times where we had to go through this stagnant, year-old stagnant pond to get to the other side of the cliff. We rappelled. Rappelling took, everyone liked the rappelling, but it took like 4 hours because we had to oh my gosh. I legitimately, multiple times along the way, I was like, okay, how can we pace this out? I gotta find a spot that we can camp for the night. Because they literally were dragging their feet. Their bags were so heavy. And we had miles to go still. Oh my gosh. So we make it back, barely, literally hobbling back to the truck. And so we cut it short, a day short, because no one had to drive back. We didn't have any dry clothes, any dry sleeping bag, hammocks, everything was drenched. And anyway, so at church the following day, I was just talking to the kids, and they're covered in bug bites, literally hundreds of bug bites, just all up and down their arms, their face, their legs. I remember at one point, because every time a kid would kind of complain, I'd try to get something out of their bag and put it in mine. My bag was so heavy, the straps were starting to tear. And the bag literally would not hold any more weight. And I remember we finally get to the top of this mountain, and we're bouldering. We're lifting ourselves up. It's not there's no trail. We're just scaling the cliff. And we get to the top, and we still have 7 more miles to go of bouldering. And I remember walking along, encouraging kids, and I look down, and my leg is covered in these black bugs. I go, I don't even care. I just got to go 1 foot in front of the other. I don't know how we're going to get there. So we'd go over a hill. And so I'd always tell the kids, all right, guys, let's set a goal. That right there, we'll take a break right there in the shade, or the last few miles, there's no shade, which is brutal. But it'd be hills. So we get to the top of the hill, and you look out, and there's another hill. And we get to the top of that one, and there's 2 more. We get over those 2, and there's another one. It was so hard to keep them encouraged of like moving the goalpost and setting a new goal. They're like literally crying, like, I can't do this anymore. I had to like, I'm a normally like pretty patient guy, mellow guy, but I was legitimately concerned we were going to like, everyone was dehydrated. I was concerned about just getting home. And so I had to like, I guess emotionally slap the kids in the face a few times to like get them not focusing on how painful this is. Several times I was like, look, you're not going to die. Get off your butt, grab your bag, let's go. It was a lot of lessons learned.
Dude, they will remember
My legs
this.
are just covered. Oh yeah, for their life. Hands down, the hardest thing physically I've done in, I don't know, last 3 decades. It was.
This sounds like a classic Boy Scout camp.
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
the most crazy stories I've ever heard have always come from scout camps.
Right. Oh my gosh.
And I don't know
You
why.
push those boys.
I don't know why or how, but it seems like that happens to me every dang time. I have a plan, and it seems like a good plan, and it's like, and then we get in the middle of it, and I swear, I'm like, Jesus, if you just let us live, I promise I'll be a good man.
Totally.
I promise.
Totally. All these life lessons that I'm like, all these analogies I'm trying to draw out of everything we're doing, it's just like going in one ear, out the next. They had
Well, those
all they
boys
cared
probably
about
have never been so
surviving.
stretched in their entire life.
Yeah, you got
Oh,
to.
That'll probably be
Yeah.
the hardest they've been stretched.
Yeah. Mhm.
And
It was one of
that's
the
going to be
hardest
a lesson they'll remember
I've been
forever.
Mhm.
I've been on some
Totally.
of them. There's a reason
Yeah,
they call them epic Whitney trails. There's a reason they're called epic Whitney trails. There's never been a time when it comes back and like, oh, that was simple. No, never happened.
I did
That
a
was pleasant.
I did a trip like that where we got hypothermia from being, it was this crazy journey, and it was actually one of the most spiritual experiences of my life, because getting out of that and doing this whole journey, there was a part where, because it was my dad, my sister, and I, and it's a long story, but this part was we finally found some shade and took a nap so we could finish our last little bit of journey. And I woke up and I was like, hey, who left? Like, that's mentally what I was thinking, is who left? And found out later, oh no, we had a spiritual guardian who was pushing us along, who was being a guide and helping us and being a support. And then we got to a point where we were okay and they didn't need to be there anymore. And so they left. But it was this crazy thing to look back on and go, we had spiritual guardians and people carrying us along and pushing us along. And so I'm sure if you went back to talk to those boys,
Yeah, I definitely felt
a lot
that.
of them could tap into that.
Totally.
My most epic one,
Yeah,
I'll
we
just
had
say this real quick, was we took a bunch of boys snow camping and we built snow caves. 12-year-old boys, snow caves. I'm
That's
surprised
brutal.
they didn't have to have toes removed. Seriously, like, it was that bad.
Oh my gosh. It was, this will easily be something for the rest of the year and next year. We could make every Sunday school lesson and teacher's core lesson about this one trip. There's so many.
I'm saying you got exactly what you intended.
That's true. That's a good point.
I mean, because you wanted analogies. You have deep soul analogies, not these little light.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
Yes, we do.
Eat the peanut or not analogies. It's like, without power of prayer, we would have been dead.
No, there
You
were
guys
several
remember
times
this spot when there was this thing happening?
right.
That's when we did prayer. Remember that? Uh-huh.
There were a couple times where I was not like concerned. I was legitimately scared for their safety. Like, I was praying like crazy.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Okay.
we had a good, like the most obvious analogy that we had like a quick lesson the night before, not the day we were trying to get out, but about having too much weight in our bags, spiritual weight, and how we can unburden our weight. It was, yeah, it was tough.
Dude. That's crazy. Sorry, Nate, but glad you had that experience.
I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but I'm glad it's over.
I,
We'll draw on it for years and years to come.
So me and some buddies, we went on a pack trip, and we were down in some really rough country. And I thought I could go this way and do a shortcut, and they went around this way, and it was so stupid for me to separate myself from them. And it looked so easy. But then I got in the middle of this shaly stuff, and these were not gentle horses, because my dad doesn't believe in sending me with good horses. They're kind of ape crazy horses. But it finally got to the point where none of us could stand up because they're the shaly rock and the horses. And I just remember finally begging God for, like, how do I even live? What do I do? And I've not done this before, and I don't think I'd ever really recommend it again. I tied the reins around these horses' necks that were not gentle, and I just started walking the direction I needed to go. And they followed me, which was the weirdest thing. They followed me, and I finally got to camp, and it was just an absolutely miracle that these wild horses didn't take off. I think they were as scared as I was. They're like, oh, okay, well, let's follow that guy. Looks like he knows where he's going. But I remembered it forever.
Yeah, no, I've been thinking about this trip so much. It was almost like PTSD for me and these kids. But I mean, I've been thinking about all the time, every day since we've been back. And there's seriously just, we had a handful of miracles that had my other advisor not gone ahead, because we didn't know how to exit the canyon. This map was horrible. So he was gone. The kids were like trying to dry off, and he was gone for like 2 hours. I was like, oh crap, is he lost? Am I gonna have to go find him? While he was gone, he ran into another scout troop who happened to be hanging around the exit, and they were packing up leaving. And we literally almost missed them. Had he not gone right when he did, or had they not hung out and played a little longer, we'd still be in that canyon. But they were like, oh yeah, it's right here. We'll even hang a couple flags for you guys. You can't miss it. We absolutely would have missed it. There was there's no trail. There's no like identifying markers. When I saw the flag, I was like, where's the trail? He's like, I don't know. They just said, go up right here. All right, let's take these 12 kids who are exhausted up this cliff. Let's see what happens.
Dude, we just had a mastermind right here. Like, my aha is like, how many times, and I've learned this so many times, how many times do I make chaos or a problem that didn't even need to exist?
Right.
This was a voluntary hell that you put yourself through, and I'm like, I just got to go mop up a mess with my stupid in-laws. It's just another mess that I keep creating. Stop creating them voluntarily.
I know. We're like at this point where I'm like getting scared because kids are like not able to keep their bags and themselves afloat. He goes, Brother Larson, just remember, I didn't pick out this trail. I was like, well, you're leading us. He's like, yeah, it was Brother Mason who told us about this. I was like, you've never been here? Like, no, I'm just following this completely inadequate map. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going down any trail with kids that I've not first explored myself.
Dude, another aha.
I know, totally.
Preside, provide, protect. We got to go down the trail first.
That's right.
Guys, I gotta stay. I have a meeting at 5 that I was supposed to be at. I gotta go, but this is the coolest conversation ever. We will be talking about this more.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See ya.